and welcome to DR Sports Game Day preview, the last one before the World Cup. Hi, Matisse.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Do you know what I mean? It's good to be here. I'm replacing Flex and who else is on this show?
AGT.
Yeah, AGT. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm here now. Yeah, you're going to love me. All right. I'm going to make sure that you're my I'm your favorite now.
He was on time today. He's doing the whole lateness is greatness post.
Yeah.
You know, we love it. We're here for it. But this is the last one, unfortunately. Before we stop for the World Cup, you're going to be seeing a lot of myself and Matisse, obviously, on DR. Holding the fort down over here. So, right, let's start. Manchester City taking on Brentford on Saturday, 12:30. To be honest, I mean, they're still not top of the table. They're still behind Arsenal. They can go top again with a win this weekend. Of course, that is dependent on what happens with Arsenal.
At Wolves,
What are you thinking in terms of Man City? Are they winding down? Are we going to see some maybe squad changes?
Do you know what it is with Man City? I think last couple of weeks, they've been a little bit hit and miss in terms of performance, just because Haaland obviously got with the injury and they had to maybe muscle memory-wise go back to learn how to play with him, without him, sorry. And De Bruyne's been stepping up massively. Goal against Leicester and then obviously a really good performance against Fulham. They went to 10 men and they still won. Like, that's a massive achievement against a very decent Fulham team as well. So I think for this match, I'm looking at Brentford, I'm thinking, you know, Ivan Toney was missing last match. They drew 2-2. They're having a good season in 11th. Thomas Frank, they're doing very well for what the expectations are. But Manchester City, they're in a title race. They know it. Pep knows it with the facial expression when he got the winner against Fulham as well. He was going ballistic. And he can't let his apprentice, his young gunner, Arteta, you know, have that top of the table status for too much longer because, you know, footballers are humbler, and Man City have been here and done it. So with the quality in their team, I do expect them to beat Brentford, but Brentford are having a very good season, to be fair to them.
They are. Brentford are one of 4 teams who are yet to win away from home in the Premier League this season. It is a tough task, obviously, going to the Etihad, but have you seen anything from Brentford that's making you think, oh, do you know what? Or even so from what you've seen from City that makes you think maybe there's a chance that they could actually get something here? Yeah,
with Brentford, they're going to have to be very organised. We know that they like to set up with, you know, the 5 in midfield when they go to these type of games, maybe a 3-5-2. I think for me, they have to be clinical. City can be got out defensively, and it depends on obviously who's playing in the defenders when they make the changes. We've seen Gomez and we've seen Akanji and these guys in certain games when they have a bit of rotation. But for me, Man City, Alvarez, you know, he scored against Chelsea in midweek.
Alvarez looks good.
He looks good. And he's going under the radar because Haaland, as every striker is, Haaland's just, you know, firing in all these goals and he's leading by such a landslide at the top. But when Alvarez comes in, he gives a little bit of a different dynamic, presses from the front a lot more aggressively. He's an incredible finisher. He's quick. He's giving you that Aguero, Tevez, Suarez, that South American, you know, vibe. And I think for me personally, he's the guy right now where if he's firing for them and he's putting the ball in the back of the net, I don't really see them falling off. And that's the squad depth for them. That's important. So I think Brentford would do very well to stop City at the Etihad. I'm not going to lie. It'll be difficult.
If they do win, Brentford could move up to 10th and they'll be super happy with that going into the World Cup break, wouldn't they? All right, let's get your prediction for that one, please.
I'll get the prediction started with, I think, a 2-0 City win. I don't think they're going to obliterate them, but I do think Haaland will probably start because obviously he's back now and that's the end of
that. What shall I go for? Let's go for a 3-1 City win. 3-1 City win.
Yeah.
But I think it might be tight, like potentially 2 late goals.
Yeah. Do you think so?
Something different.
Last goals.
Yep. 3 o'clock Saturday, Liverpool facing Southampton. Liverpool coming off that win against Tottenham, obviously.
Derby on penalties, wasn't it?
Derby on penalties. Southampton changing their manager. No more Ralph Hasenhüttl. It is, I believe it's Nathan Jones that's coming in from Luton. Liverpool have won 9 of their last 10 Premier League games against Southampton. They've scored twice in at least each victory.
I think new manager bounce, maybe. You know, that's what they'll be banking on. Probably. I mean, he has really not had any time to work with the players to really, I mean, you know, you're going to go to Liverpool and you're probably going to sit deep and you're going to try and be organised and hold out for as long as possible. Liverpool going to Tottenham and winning, it's a big win, and it, you know,
it kind of scraped that win.
Should get the ball rolling. But yeah, it was a pretty even game, and it's maybe the game that kind of suits Liverpool where they don't have to dominate. They're not expected to have all of the possession, and it's a little bit more back and forth, especially when Tottenham step it up in the second half. But Salah seems to be back. You know, he's firing again. He's getting his goals. I like the way now that he's made Firmino back the middleman in that attack, and he's kind of put Salah and Nunes coming off the flanks, and I think that suits them a lot more. Whereas when they was having Nunes as the focal point, he's not really knitting up the attack as well as Firmino does in that false nine.
But no Firmino in the Brazilian World Cup squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for him because I think he's a very good player, but Richarlison is in great form for Brazil. I think a lot of people forget that he's scored a lot of goals. And for the way that Brazil play, they want to have players that stretch and running behind and whatnot. And Firmino obviously is a lot older than a Jesus and a Richarlison. So I think it's tactical, unfortunately, for him. And yeah, I think for Liverpool, it's just about defensively. They just need to step it up. You know, they've been conceding a lot of goals this season. Trent, you know, defensively, he's got to be switched on.
Going forward, he looks good, but just
the
back.
passing's been brilliant. Yeah. So if he could just fix up defensively and you know, Van Dijk gets back to his best and whatnot, then you expect them to be winning a game like this. But you never know. There's a new manager in town.
You never know. Liverpool have lost their last 3 Premier League games against sides in the relegation zone.
Yep.
And also Southampton, if they were to lose this match, they will be in the relegation zone at Christmas. And the last time that was happening was in 2004-05 season when they did get relegated.
Yeah.
But on a sunnier note for Liverpool, if they do win this, they're currently sitting at 8th in the table. They could go up to 6th, depending on whatever else happens around them. And that would look a little bit brighter for them, wouldn't you say? After the season they've been having so far.
For me, they're still in a top 4 race, you know, and title race definitely not, but they're in a top 4 race, and teams are above them will drop points. Manchester United will drop points. We saw that against Villa. Chelsea will definitely drop points. We've been dropping points a lot recently. Tottenham will drop points. We saw that. So the top 4 race is there for them, and they still have the quality to make that. They just need to avoid key injuries, and key players need to get back into form. And this game, really just don't give any free kicks away because James Ward-Prowse, I mean, he's not in the England team. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but you know, he's a threat from set pieces, and that's where Liverpool could get unstuck if a free kick goes in, and then you know Anfield goes a bit quieter, maybe it gets a bit more cagey.
Fair point. Southampton, if they can get a result against Liverpool, they will move out of the bottom 3. They can actually go up to 13th place. So it's
10th, I think 11th to 18th or whatever is separated by like 6 points or
seriously
something.
Small margins.
Yeah.
You've got Leeds in 12th place, Brentford in 11th on 16, and Forest right at the bottom are on 10. So it's literally not much in it.
No, there's not much, and that's the way it goes now these days with the bottom half. Close. Literally anybody can get relegated down there. It's really close.
Really close. Prediction, please.
I'm gonna go Liverpool to win that. I'm going to go 3-1. I have a feeling James Ward-Prowse is going to score. He just always does, even from distance.
I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go
Really?
I'm going to 1-1.
New manager bounce.
New manager bounce and James Ward-Prowse to hit one.
That's a big prediction.
Well, I'm just basing
it safe today.
I'm just basing it off of
it's
Liverpool's
my debut. I can't take risks.
recent home form.
Fair,
that's all.
Right,
moving on. Bournemouth facing Everton. Everton lately, what have you been making of them? They are currently sitting in 16th place. At one point, they had the best defensive record in the league.
Yeah, they did. I think they brought Tchaikovsky, they brought in Cody. You know, they're definitely thinking defence first. Frank Lampard last season towards the back end, they were leaking goals. Tottenham, they got absolutely slapped away from home because maybe he was too naive, and individually Holgate and, you know, Keane and all these guys, they just weren't up to it. So he's thought, okay, right, I need to fix that defence. Going forward, I still think they're a little bit like lackluster. They're not really that great to watch in terms of... Gordon is maybe the star boy, but Calvert-Lewin, he's been off form and injured for the last couple of years. There's not really much there going forward. They need a lot more. Even Onana, I like him midfield. I think he's a good player, but still developing things to do. I think he's still young, 23 years old. So you can see that team is going to be where they are in the table. They're going to be fighting for their lives. I don't think Everton fans are really expecting much else, but I think they've started well by the building blocks of that defence. We saw it with the record, maybe, you know, best defence a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure what it's looking like right now, but I think, you know, for me, Everton are kind of where you expect them to be, and I don't expect them to be anywhere else come the end of the season, but in a relegation fight.
Okay, it's a fair point. Just having a look at Bournemouth, having been unbeaten in their first 6 Premier League games under Gary O'Neill, of course, after they sacked Scott Parker. Yep. Bournemouth have now lost each of their last 4 in a row. And of course, if you think back over the last few weeks, they were 2-0 up against Tottenham. That ended in 3-2. Yep. And they were also 2-0 up against Leeds, and that ended in a 4-3 Leeds win. So that is something to definitely look at.
Entertaining, if nothing else.
It's entertaining. They're sitting in 17th. So kind of this is a bit of a battle of the bottom, 16th versus 17th. But But Bournemouth, they have the players that can obviously do something because they are doing it in games. They're just not seeing it out. Do you think that's to do with maybe fitness and making it through a whole 90 or mentality? What is it?
Is it concentration issues? I don't know. I mean, the game against Leeds was a 3 p.m. kickoff, and they did so well to come from behind in the first place, and then to throw it away was a little bit like, come on, guys, you need to be a little bit more mature and really
braver in seeing it through.
You got a nice lead like that. It's a big game, a potential to move yourselves, in a game where both teams are going to be trying to get to that 40-point mark. That's the first thing that you do when you're a Leeds or a Bournemouth. And I think it was just a little bit crazy for them to give it away like that. Solanke seems to be doing decently this season. He's getting some goals. It's funny because ironically enough, these two have already played each other obviously midweek against Bournemouth. Won 4-1 in the cup, and so maybe do they have the edge mentally, going into another game now on the weekend? That will be interesting to see. But Billing, Solanke, they've got some good players, but they're leaking goals, and you can't do that. So, but then again, Everton are a bit toothless. So I think Bournemouth should be able to edge this for me.
What is your prediction, please?
I'm gonna go 2-1 Bournemouth.
2-1 Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win as well.
Yeah.
On that one.
They've got some good players.
Right, moving on from 16th and 17th to 14th and 15th. West Ham are facing Leicester. Again, West Ham sitting there kind of towards the bottom of the table on 14 points. Lots of West Ham fans have been talking about Moyes out. Similarly, lots of Leicester fans have also been saying that Rodgers should maybe be leaving. He's kind of turned around their fortunes a little bit. Yeah. They have, however, West Ham won 3 of their last 4 Premier League games against Leicester. So I don't know. This one is difficult for me to call.
Yeah, I mean, both teams level on points. Both teams should be doing better than they are. Both teams have the team and the quality to minimum get top 10. And West Ham have spent about 170 odd million last summer. I think they were the 3rd highest spenders in the Premier League behind Man United and Chelsea. West Ham really should be competing for European places. I know there's Brighton and there's Newcastle that have come up on the scene, but they should still be amongst the conversation. So I think that's where the pressure comes for Moyes. And in terms of, can he deal with the higher technical players that he's been given in terms of the Scamacas, the Pochettins? Is it really a Moyes team, or is it more of a team that is trying to move on into the next era of West Ham where they play better football?
Who do you take as a manager if they were to let Moyes go, for example?
I think they missed out on Emery, who just went to Villa. That would have been a shout. Poch is another one, but probably too high for them. Every Tottenham fan tells me the same. There's no chance of that.
No chance.
It was mentioned even Mancini. I'm not sure, but I do think Moyes is his time is ticking. Because he had a great season last year with a thin squad, made the semi-finals of the Europa League. If it wasn't for Cresswell getting sent off, they probably would have maybe even won it because it was Rangers in the final, and Rangers. You can definitely go back and forth with them and potentially take that. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. That could have been Champions League qualification, and the whole picture would have been completely different. If West Ham are in the group stages of the Champions League, with the money that they've spent, they probably, I don't know, maybe they would have spent more. So it could have been completely different.
They had signed some good players. So,
yeah, they have. Emerson Palmieri's come in. Downs has come in. Paqueta's come in. Cornet, we haven't really seen much of him. Burnley.
And he was a good player.
Good player at Burnley.
At Burnley.
Yeah.
So it is quite interesting. And then obviously Jared Bowen is not having the best season, but still a fantastic player nonetheless.
Yeah, misses out on the England squad.
Yes. What is your prediction, please?
I think for me, West Ham. I'm going to go with a draw. I think it's got a draw written all over it. Maddison's in great form. I'm going to go 2-2. I think there'll be goals in this game.
I think it's a good prediction. I'm going to go with Leicester, though, just to edge it with a 2-1 win. I think James Maddison will be absolutely buzzing after that.
He will.
To call up.
Yeah.
Right, another 3 o'clock is Tottenham taking on Leeds. This is going to be really interesting to see who can concede more.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean...
I thought Conte with the back 5 and defensive solidarity.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of defensive solidarity going on at Tottenham.
No?
Well, Tottenham have trailed by at least 2 goals in each of their last 4 Premier League games. It's the longest run in the competition's history. But again, we all know with Tottenham at half-time, things tend to turn around in the Premier League and they tend to look better. However, they got caught out against Liverpool, allowing stupid mistakes, silly things to kind of put them in a position where they just couldn't get that second goal and get the draw that they probably deserved over the course of that game at Liverpool. And Leeds again, the last few weeks they got that amazing result at Anfield. Somerville in the last few minutes again. Somerville really impacting in that game against Bournemouth. So he is definitely one. Yeah,
Rodrigo as well, getting goals. He's a problem.
They're playing a little bit better, Leeds. I mean, they're still not sold on Jesse Marsch. There's a lot of managerial mumblings going on. But they have kind of turned it around from where they were, and they're up to 12th in the table.
Yeah, I think you've got to watch out for Leeds because they slapped us. You know, they've beaten Liverpool. They've beaten now Bournemouth, although it was a little bit of a back and forth game. Like you mentioned, Somerville, Rodrigo. I think, you know, Adams and Rocker. There's some good players there. Yeah. You can see he's trying to build a very different team to what Bielsa put together. It's a lot more compact. It's a lot more vertical. Obviously, there's no Rafinha, there's no Phillips, so it takes time. But I think Leeds, you know, on any given day can be a very difficult 100%. Team to play. So you got to watch out. I think Kulusevski was key for Tottenham when he came on against Liverpool. Massively. He obviously got the assist for Kane. He gives a bit of creativity to the team, a little bit of balance.
Which is what Tottenham have really been lacking, you know, this season. The amount of time, obviously Kulusevski's been out, Richarlison's been out. We haven't seen that much. And obviously Son hasn't been on form. He's not going to be back in time before the World Cup. But Richarlison obviously featured during the week in that Carabao Cup loss. And Spence so did... Well? I know, my man was freed for a few minutes. But don't hold your breath. How
did he play? He nearly scored, didn't he?
I'm sure Royale will be back in as per
Royale
usual.
Versus Somerville. I'm looking forward to that one.
Unfortunately. But yeah, after an 8-game winless run, Leeds have now won their last 2 Premier League games. So they are definitely ones to watch. It's not a great time for Tottenham to be playing Leeds.
No, it's
Spurs
not.
In the form they're in.
No, it's not. I think Tottenham, first of all, they need to start games quickly now. You know, if Kulusevski starts the match, I'm expecting, you know, razor sharp start from Tottenham. You know, Basuma's looking a little bit better now. I think, you know, you got Højbjerg, Bentancur. Yes, they're a little bit all too similar, but I do think they're all good midfielders. It's just maybe the shame that you don't have the creativity in there. But they've been chipping in with goals as well. Emerson Royale, you know, I'd much rather Spence. I thought Spence in the few minutes he played, he looked good. You know,
he looked 10 times better than Royale's ever looked.
Yeah,
but even so, I'm more than happy for Doherty to start. More than happy.
Yeah, so you know, so that's another player. There's a lot of competition on that spot. You would think anyway.
You'd think.
But Conte obviously thinks otherwise.
Let's have your prediction, please, for this one.
I don't want to just be predictable the whole time because I've gone with the obvious for City, Liverpool. I'm going to go with
a Leeds win. How very Chelsea of you.
I'm going to go with a Leeds draw though. I'm going to go 1-1.
I will back Tottenham, but I think there'll be goals in this game. I'm going to go a 3-2 Tottenham win because there's no way Tottenham aren't conceding. Yeah. And there's no way Leeds aren't conceding either.
That's fair.
So we'll see what happens with that. Spurs can move back into 3rd place if they win. Right, Nottingham Forest taking on Crystal Palace. Forest will be very happy, buzzing from their Carabao Cup win earlier in the week. Jesse Lingard showing up finally, just in time for the World Cup.
Well, unfortunately, you know, he's usually in great form for England. I think he's got a decent record. But, you know, it is too late for him. Maybe it could have been different if he went West Ham. I don't know. But
Crystal Palace went out on penalties as well. Also to Newcastle. I'm quite impressed with Forest. You know, even though they're bottom of the table, I'm impressed that they have this kind of like, I don't feel like they give up easily in games. I think there is something about them. Whether or not they make it out of that danger zone, it is very tight, as we've said. But I don't dislike Forest.
I think Forest, the issue they've had is that, you know, they've brought in 23 players. I say 26, 28, depends what day it is, to be fair. I don't really know. But they've brought a lot of players in, and that's very, very difficult to gel together, find chemistry. There's some players in that team that have just signed who won't be in the matchday squad, and that is insane. You know, so for me, it's a situation where as the season goes on, I expect them to get better and better. That's just natural. And for Palace, they're very up and down. You know, they're very like, they could give you a great performance or they could lose and you wouldn't even notice because, you know, they're Palace and they're a very good team.
I definitely take more of an interest in Palace since Vieira's come in. I think he's changing, and you know, with the amount of young players they've got, he's definitely changing the way people look at them and kind of the ethos of that club. They're
very exciting. Like, you don't know what you're going to get any given day.
They are very mixed bag.
You got Eze, you got Elise. He's gone a little bit more attacking this season. I've even seen sometimes Elise and Eze playing in the midfield 3, and then he's gone doubled down with the likes of, you know, Zaha and Ayew and more forward players. So they are exciting and they are a very promising team. And I think, to be fair, maybe I'm being harsh, you got to remember where they've come from. They were kind of relegation scrappers when he came in, and then he got rid of all of the, you know, the Scott Dans and the Gary Cahills and whatnot. So they're doing very well to be, you know, just round about mid-table is probably where they'll end up. So, but anything could happen in this one because it is at the Forest ground, at the City ground, and
it is. Nottingham Forest have won just one of their last 12 Premier League games. They've drawn 4 and lost 7, although they are unbeaten in the last 3 at the City ground. So they're, you know, maybe if they can try and turn this around, make it kind of like a bit of a fortress at home, then they might be able to just get out of those relegation zones as the season goes on. What is your prediction on that, please?
I think there's goals in this one as well. Palace 2 wins in a row, Southampton and West Ham away. That was a big win. I'm going to go 3-2 Palace. I just think this is going to be a great game. I really hope it is. There's a lot of attacking players there. Nottingham Forest are under pressure. Gibbs White gets his goal as well. So yeah, I'm interested on that one.
Okay, I'm gonna go for a draw.
Okay.
I'm gonna go for a 2-2. Let's go for a Desmond. Right, Newcastle, 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. Currently third place in the table. I mean, hats off to Newcastle. I have to say I'm loving watching them, even though they have leapfrog Tottenham.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for them. I'm happy for everything involved. I'd also like to be taken over by a state. So
Your time will come. Don't worry. Your time will come.
Newcastle are facing Chelsea. Whoever has followed Matisse on this channel or any other channels will know that Matisse is a Chelsea fan. Chelsea are not looking great at the moment, are they, Matisse?
It's not looking good, bruv.
No. Would you want to be going to St James's Park at a time like this?
No, God, no. This is the worst possible fixture. I mean, literally, our record there is quite, underwhelming anyway. We always kind of struggle there. And then to come in our form and their form, best form I've ever seen them probably since I was birthed, and our form probably maybe the worst. So I think it's our worst form since Antonio Conte 2018-17 apparently. So it's not looking great on that front, and we need the win. We're struggling now before the World Cup, and we've on the back of a couple of defeats and a couple of draws, and we haven't won in a while. So, but Newcastle is not the place to be getting any sort of charity points. You're not going to get that there. Bruno Gomes is slapping them in from range. Callum Wilson, Almiron. Wow.
Almiron.
When is Jack Grealish going to apologise?
He needs to do a public
He
statement.
needs to. Public statement. Write that out in a tweet, whatever you have to do. Because
and also they're working as a team.
They are.
Let's not,
and they have injuries.
Let's not write off the back either. Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman,
Dan
Burn, Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, even Nick Pope. I think they're working so well as a team.
Yep. Joe Willett comes in as well.
And Joe Linton. We've mentioned Callum Wilson. There's so many good players in that side which are pulling together and actually probably playing well above maybe the level that they are at. Really.
Yeah. No. 100%. I mean, I think everybody was expecting Newcastle to gradually go up, but no one expected them to be here.
No,
maybe
not so early on.
No, maybe like a ninth or, just off the cusp of a Conference League place. But when you take into account that there's no St. Maximum, he's injured. Alexander Isak, a player that they splashed a lot of money on, we've barely seen him. And he looked good when we saw him against Liverpool in his debut, but we haven't seen too much. They've got injuries and they're still able to churn out these performances.
And we've got a January transfer window coming up.
Hey.
I've said it before, guys. I think Newcastle are going to get in the top 4 this season. I think it's going to be a very interesting season. And there are some teams not performing and the World Cup in the mix. It's Newcastle's.
Do you know what I would love Newcastle to really go and do? Win that Carabao Cup. They went through last night by the skin of their teeth on Palace.
Nothing to say they couldn't.
A lot of big teams have gone. London have completely eliminated. London have said, we're not involved. Like we're not involved. We got other things to deal with right now. So Newcastle to pick up a cup, like Leicester did, FA Cup, obviously they got the league as well. I think when you're in a moment like this as a club, and West Ham probably should have got it last year, you got to capitalise and 100%. Get a trophy.
I agree. Newcastle have won their last 4 Premier League games. Chelsea have lost their last 2. Do you want to talk about Chelsea? Because I feel like you want to defer.
I would like to defer.
In Potter we trust?
Yeah, of course, for sure. Because I think, to be blaming it on him would be very short-sighted and not looking at the overall perspective of the situation, which is that, yes, we do have some injuries to Reece James and that's Kante, and there's some crucial players missing there. But also, when you look at our team for the last few years, in the league, they have been very inconsistent. They have been underperforming. And from a player quality standpoint on ability, we should be doing a lot better. But sometimes I question, is the environment, is the culture, and people underestimate these intangibles in football, but I don't feel like the Chelsea team, and it saw with the performance against Arsenal and then completely opposite against City the other night, we actually played well. It's too inconsistent, and I feel like when you look at the teams that are successful, Arsenal now, they've taken out a few of those players that Arteta didn't really gel with, and now the environment there is fantastic. Man City, the environment's always been great. Klopp and Liverpool, when they're at their best, the environment. I feel like it's very important. It's very important in football to have, some sort of togetherness and some sort of one-way motion that you're moving in, and some clarity on everybody's futures. And Chelsea never have that. Contracts are running out again this season. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. A couple of players apparently unhappy again, same as last season. But it's not helpful. And especially for a manager who's coming from Brighton, I rate him very highly. I think a lot of people did before he got the job. He's built up Ostersons, shown that he can build a team there, shown that he can build Brighton, highest place finish last season. Brighton are still kicking on. So for me, he's shown the squad building, potential, and the only thing that he hasn't shown is, can he handle the pressure, can he handle the extra games, the egos? But those factors we will not know inside 2 months. We'll know in a few maybe years. So I'm very patient, but I also need 3 points.
All right, what's your prediction?
1-1.
1-1. For me, this is a Newcastle win. I'm gonna go 3-1 Newcastle.
Yeah, I predicted a Tottenham.
Should have really gone a 3-0
well.
Newcastle, but I'll give you the one.
Is that what we're doing?
Right, 7:45 Saturday night. Wolves taking on Arsenal. Wolves are second bottom of the table on joint points with Forest. Arsenal are, of course, top of the table, and they will stay there most likely if they get a win against Wolves going into the World Cup. Wolves have won just one of their last 8 Premier League games. They've drawn 1 and they've lost 6, and they've also conceded at least 3 goals in all 4 of these 8 games. So I mean, look, we can praise Arsenal. We can. Maybe we don't praise them enough.
I mean, as a Chelsea and Tottenham fan, do they really expect?
I mean, they do. They actually do expect us to. The amount of grief I get on this show, they do expect us to praise them. But we do. We can do that. You know, I think Arsenal. We've said it every week. They're building something. They're definitely title contenders. Yep. Whether or not they can see it through to the end of the season is, remains to be seen.
Yep.
The January transfer window is coming up. They're definitely going to have to strengthen.
Yep.
I think in terms of their depth, they haven't had any massive injuries. I don't feel like to key players in terms of like Jesus or Martinelli or Saka, for example. Nothing that's been affecting, kind of their front three. I think if you were to have Jesus out of that team, I'd like to see if they were still playing the same, because I think a lot of Arsenal fans saying where he's maybe lacked in goals at times is kind of the all-round work ethic.
Yeah.
So it just would be interesting to see that, or someone like Saliba if they weren't I think fully fit.
They had Partey out and El Neni, DM-wise for Man United, obviously, and Lukonga comes in, Zinchenko was out, you got Tomiyasu. So they've had a few injuries, but I think when they get to the latter stages of the Europa League, where they have to play their strongest team, because obviously for the game in the midweek, say, completely changed the team. Man City changed the team. Big difference in the results. And, they're playing us and they're playing Brighton. Brighton are a very good team. When you get to the final stages of Europa League, if they plan on, trying to win that competition, you can't play, Marquinhos maybe and Lukonga, and you got to play the strong team. Barcelona are going to be in that competition. Man United, Juventus, Atletico. It's a different ball game now.
And if you're going for the league as well,
there's
something have to give, isn't it?
But I'm going to give them a lot of praise, because to have dropped points twice up until this point, that is title winning form.
It is, absolutely.
It is incredible form, and to do that and have played everybody apart from City, but they've played basically everybody else. They've played all the big teams. They've played Man United, and they played well in that game, and they were unlucky not to win. Southampton, they should have won that. So they really could have won every game, if they had just had a few tweaks to the tactics, or the finishing would have been better. They played us off the park last week, and I'm very impressed and I'm shocked, and it's not anywhere near what I expected. And I do expect them to win this game and be top of the table for the World Cup. But then, like we said, it's going to be very interesting whether they strengthen in January, which they will need to avoid the rotation that will have to happen in the latter stages. Wolves.
I agree. Wolves.
Whoa.
Wolves are in big trouble. Again, the managerial situation, I think they're just kind of waiting to sort things out, aren't they?
I think Lopetegui starts after the World Cup.
After the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think they're just waiting to kind of get the ball rolling when everyone goes off for international duty and kind of put the groundwork in for what needs to be done. But Wolves, they have got some good players in there. But
a lot of injuries as well.
A lot of injuries. They can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net. So this is a really tough task for Wolves, isn't it?
Yeah. No Neto, no Gameres. They're missing their key guys, and I do feel for them in a way, because I feel like if they had these forwards, I think they'd be doing a little bit better than they are. But to be in the relegation zone with these injuries is tough, and Podence is a decent player, but he's not giving you the output. Traore again doesn't really give you the output. They got Guedes, they got all these guys, but Diego Costa I think was suspended for getting a red card, wasn't he? And he's obviously 34, so there's issues there. But I don't expect them to get relegated. I do think in the market they will have to act, and they will. Lopetegui is obviously highly regarded. I think at one point he was going for the Spain job when he was Real Madrid manager, and then he got neither.
Yeah. Man got nothing.
One hell of a football manager save that is for him. So, I mean, I think Wolves will lose this game, but I agree with you. I think they're just waiting until after the World Cup, and then they go again from there. So, I think this will be an Arsenal win. For my prediction, I'm going to have to go probably 3-0 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal. But please, Wolves, please help us out. Help us out here.
We're unbiased hosts.
Yeah, always unbiased. 100%. But it's good that we can compliment them.
More than you can believe.
There we go. Right, last few games of the weekend. Sunday, 2:00 is Brighton taking on Aston Villa, a resurgent Aston Villa under Unai Emery. But Brighton sitting 6th in the table.
It's a good game.
They can actually go 5th if they win this, heading into the World Cup. If obviously depending on what United do. But Brighton, do not sleep on them.
No, don't sleep. Stay woke. I'm very impressed. With Brighton. They're so unpredictable. Pascal Gross was playing right back, I think, in the last match. They are able to put Trossard up front. The midfield, McAllister, going
Trossard,
away to the World Cup with Argentina.
Matoma.
Casado.
Big shout out to Matoma.
Yeah, Casado. And then obviously Duncan Webster, who didn't make the World Cup squad, but I think they've been great for Brighton. It's a great team. It's really technical. We suffered and saw that at the Amex. They're just very interchangeable. They all work as a unit, and they play really good football. So I think this is a great game because, like you said, Aston Villa with Emery, they've also got quality. They've spent a lot of money, There's a
lot of quality in that Villa side.
Ramsey, Buendia,
Coutinho, Bailey. There's a lot of quality in that Villa side, which has of course been underperforming. And then we saw them completely smack up United last weekend. So it just shows you there is things there. It's just
the Premier League's a bit scary, isn't it?
This season, it's a madness.
If Villa under Emery, a serial winner in the Europa League, can get them to where they should be. West Ham, if they were to potentially get a new manager with the money they can spend, Newcastle, Brighton.
That top 6 is closing.
Listen, it's going to have to be a top 10. We're going
to
have to give out European places for everyone. Otherwise, it's going to be insane. So, this is a great game. I think this is a tough one to call. I think it could go either way. But I'm going to edge towards just being a draw.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna back Brighton on this one. I think it's gonna be a 2-1 Brighton win for me.
Okay.
Right, and finally the last game before we head into the World Cup is Fulham taking on Manchester United.
Wow. I mean, Mitrovic is having a serious season, Him and Tony have really come up from the Championship and shown that, listen, we are the big dogs. We are the Premier League guys now, There were question marks, especially around Mitrovic, even from myself, because last time he was here, he wasn't really doing the business for Newcastle. And I was like, is he a Championship striker? You get those players, Billy Sharps, that will ring a bell for some of you. David Nugent, is he a Championship striker who can come to the Premier League and maybe get a few, but not do enough to keep his team in? And fair play, shut me up and a lot of people up very quickly because the goals he's been putting in have been very important. And I think for me, with Fulham, it's just about now, they're 9th, again, 40-point mark. Get to that as soon as possible. Ride this wave, because there will be moments and maybe, spells where they can't have, the wins coming in. And I think this is important for teams like them, like Brentford as well, who are overachieving. Just keep those objectives the same and get those points. For Man United, last week was a humbling experience. They go to Aston Villa, the butcher is a vegan and all these things happen and they just get destroyed. Like, really, it was a tough one.
It kind of brought them back down to earth
a little bit, and I think it was necessary. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was necessary, but they are a good team when they're firing. I think maybe as well, I was seeing some watch-alongs, people saying maybe some tired legs out there, Casemiro, the depth of that Man United team we've seen, that bench is not great. Behind the bench, there's not much there. They were having Rashford on the right wing. Ronaldo was, again, not really that good again. So they clearly need to, freshen it up in terms of the squad depth. But they're a good team. They've been playing good football. And I do expect them to win this game.
Okay, what's your prediction?
It's going to be a tight one. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Man United win.
I am going to go for a Fulham win.
You're going to do, I knew it.
Fulham have only lost 1 in their last 5, including home and away. So I'm going to go for Fulham with a 2-1 win. Just to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And just, maybe
I hear it.
Finish this third of the season on a high.
Do you know what doesn't work in Man United's favour is they play against Aston Villa in the Cup.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if they're going to rest. I mean, they probably should because they got Fulham literally on the Saturday.
Having Unai Emery twice in 1 week. But it is, of course, at United.
Yeah.
Whereas last weekend it was at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
So, Matisse, thank you for making your debut.
Pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I'm glad. We'll have you back.
Really glad to be here.
We'll have you back, obviously, when the
100%.
Premier League resumes.
Yep.
So all you guys, I hope you enjoy the World Cup. Of course, make sure you tune in to us on DR Sports. You're going to see a lot of us too, of course.
So I hope you like us because we aren't going anywhere.
Together and apart. There's going to be so much content, so many watch-alongs. So make sure that you tune in for all of your World Cup information and access to DR Sports. And we will be back with the Premier League after...
The World Cup.
After Christmas.
Yeah. Wow.
After Christmas.
Pain. Actually, no, I think we're all right with that. We'll take a break.
Yeah, I'm happy for the break. Happy for the no Spurs for a little bit. Enjoy, everybody, your weekend, and good luck to all your teams.
DR Sports is entering the metaverse.
Welcome to Habbo.
Come play games and chat about the latest football drama.
Meet up with friends, meet new people, and have a great time.
I'll be there on special VIP days. Click the link or go to the website at habbo.com.